An NHL Insider reveals a huge San Jose Sharks trade is on the horizon, plus the hidden details from the Mikael Granlund trade have been revealed, and we're going to break it all down for you guys coming up on this episode of Sharks Digest. But before we get into it, we got to say that 92% of you guys watching these videos aren't subscribed to the channel, so if you want to stay up on the latest Sharks content, make sure to go down below, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers before the Four Nations tournament, so I appreciate it if you help us out by dropping us a subscribe down below. But with that said, we got to jump into it because there is a lot to talk about here today as we see Mike Grier's pretty face. We've seen here, before we talk about the big trade that's coming, I'm going to link it all together here, so make sure you're paying attention because this is all going to tie in this video. From David Pagnota on the fourth period, he said the trade talks with Dallas regarding Mikael Granlund go back a couple of months. He says it believed the San Jose Sharks had interest in defenseman Liam Bichsel, but that would have resulted in a larger move for the Stars to consider. Because obviously, if you're not sure who Liam Bichsel is, this guy was their 18th overall draft selection in 2022. He is regarded to be one of the up-and-coming defensive defensemen in the NHL. I mean, he is 6'7". He is a big body, and obviously, Mike Grier's seen something here that, hey, we could use this guy on the left side if we're getting rid of CC, if we're getting rid of Ferraro, we need a guy to fill that role, and he's kind of looking at Liam Bichsel here. He's only 20 years old. He still has a lot of time to grow here in the NHL, and yes, he might not look flashy on the stat sheet or anything. It's 3 points in 13 games, but it's his defensive play. It's him laying hits. It's him blocking shots. It's him shutting zone entries down with his stick, and just he was so good at doing those things coming up in the juniors and in the he was so good at doing those things in the Swedish league, and that is why he got drafted so high here in the NHL, and it's just great to see him finally get some games here in the NHL, and Mike Grier was looking at getting him for this Sharks team, and it's very interesting why they were go after this guy, because, you know, when you think of the Sharks, you think maybe they're going to go for more picks so they can build up their draft capital that way, but it seems like Mike Grier here got it in his head that maybe trading for younger prospects is the best way to go about it. So now that leans into our next topic, which is the big trade that David Pagnota said is going to happen. If we just take a look here, to our quote from David Pagnota via the fourth period, he said, Mario Ferraro is indeed in play. The Sharks are listening, and there's some chatter that the Colorado Avalanche are one of the teams interested in him. If we take a look at Mario Ferraro, obviously a lot of you guys in the comment section have been saying he's had a down year, but I don't see it. I think Mario Ferraro has been very solid for this team. Yes, maybe he only has 11 points in those 54 games, but if you look in the bottom right here, he has 115 hits this season, and he also has 77 shots. And yes, he is a dash 23 on the year, but when you're playing on a team that's getting scored on a lot, your plus minus is going to be lower. That's just the way it is. So we see the Colorado Avalanche be interested in this guy, and that's very interesting to me because they have a lot of stuff here that the Sharks could go after. Look, if we look at their picks, that's one of the things they're kind of lacking in. They don't have a first this year. They have 2 seconds. They have 2 fourths. But when you even go farther than that, they have a first for next year, and then they only have 2 fourths. So it's going to be interesting to see if Mike Grier wants to take the pick compensation for Mario Ferraro, because we could see a trade for a second-round pick and maybe a lower-end prospect happen here for Mario Ferraro. But what we just learned from the talks in the Mikael Granlund trade is he was looking at bringing in a young player, and this is something that the Colorado Avalanche have a lot of. I mean, if we just take a look at our picks first before we talk about that, I mean, we do have a lot of picks for this upcoming draft, but for years after, we don't have that much built up yet. But I think that, like I said, I think a prospect here is what Mike Grier's after, and they have a lot of them in Colorado. One guy here, Callum Ritchie, is a center at 20 years old, 6'3", was the first overall draft pick for them in the 2023 NHL entry draft. And if we just look at how he's playing this season, he has 50 points in 28 games in the OHL. This guy has been an absolute stud for the Oshawa Generals here in the OHL. And I think this guy, he already has his first NHL point under his belt. This guy could be a sneaky trade for Mike Grier here, because yes, he is lighting it up in the OHL. He had 80 points last season there, so it would be interesting to see what if we could swap Ferraro for this guy, maybe a lower end pick. Maybe that might be too much of an ask, but I think right now Ferraro is worth a first round pick in my opinion. We're seeing so many trades happen in the NHL where just then CC and Granlund went for a first round pick, so Ferraro could could be worth a first round pick to one of these teams. So that would be Callum Ritchie in this instance. But we keep going on. They also have Ivan. That's right, Ivan to the power of 3 in the AHL with the Colorado Eagles. And last season he had 31 points in 67 games. Yes, maybe that isn't jumping off the page at you like you would like to see, but this would be something I would see if Mike Grier goes, say, after that second round pick. I could see Ivan, or one of these Colorado Eagles players in their early 20s be a part of this trade. This is a guy who you can put him in this Barracuda squad and he can build himself up there. He is only 22 years old and he has a lot of potential here. And I think this could be an interesting trade as well if they're looking at a forward. But there is one guy here that trumps the rest, in my opinion. That's a defenseman. This is a guy, Sage Weinstein. He went undrafted, signed an entry-level contract with the Colorado Avalanche this season. He's currently on loan in the WHL with the Spokane Chiefs, and this fits the bill for Mike Grier. This guy fits the bill for Mike Grier because he is more that big left-handed shot defensive defenseman that Mike Grier was trying to get with Liam Bichelle. He might not be a 6'7" beast like Liam Bichelle is. He's only 6 foot, but this guy is a mirror image of Mario Ferraro, except 19 years old and not even into the NHL yet. I think this could be the way we see the Mike Grier go here. I think he's going to go after more prospects than he is picks, and I think Sage Weinstein is a guy who you can trade in this instance for Mario Ferraro. The Colorado Avalanche get Ferraro for their playoff push, but the Sharks get another prospect in return that they can develop up through their system, so that eventually, once all these guys that Mike Grier has in the system right now develop, this team is going to be a beast. And I think Sage Weinstein is one of those guys that, yes, he will come over eventually to the AHL and to the NHL and maybe play a big left-hand defensive defenseman type player. Like, I'm going to compare him to a Shakir Mukhamadullin, who we have right now. He's playing up with the team at this moment, but this is the type of player I would compare him to. You see him come over to the AHL. If he's good in the AHL, we see him on the consistent call-up and sent down bases with the San Jose Sharks. And I think you take that if you are Mike Grier and the San Jose Sharks. If they don't want to get rid of that second round pick, I think you go after either a Callum Ritchie in this instance or a Sage Weinstein. I think these two guys could be interesting pieces for Mike Grier to obtain here, and it'll be interesting to see. The saga around Mario Ferraro is only continue to start right now, and they're saying Colorado is one of the teams interested. We haven't heard what other teams are interested right now, but we'll keep you up to date on all of that going forward. But I thought this was a very interesting piece of information that we did find out today, was that, he was going after a big prospect here, a first overall pick, and it was just too big of a move that Dallas didn't want to make. So Mike Grier's looking at things here. He's trying to get the prospect pool up to snuff, and I think Sage Weinstein, Callum Ritchie, one of these guys in return from Mario Ferraro, I think you definitely take that. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts down below in the comments section. What are you giving up for Mario Ferraro? Are you taking a second round pick and just letting him go that way, or would you rather go after one of these prospects that the Colorado Avalanche have? Let us know down below in the comment section. If you enjoyed this one, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Like I said, we're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers before the Four Nations tournament kicks off, and we're almost there, so make sure down below and hit that subscribe button. But as always, I've been your host, KC. Keep your stick on the ice.